Welcome to this workshop entitled Waking Your Silent Muse, using word lists and images to spark ideas when you think you just can't write. Feel free to use these exercises individually or to use this video to lead your own writing workshop. You'll need to pause the video to allow yourself or others to complete the writing exercises. Let's get started. My name is Tina Quinn Durham. I'm primarily a poet, and I've created this workshop to help inspire people who've been sort of stuck throughout this pandemic because of a lack of creativity. If you're doing this as a workshop, please pause the video now and briefly have everyone state their name, what they create, and what they want to get out of this workshop. Here's our agenda, what we're going to do right now. First, we will take your creative pulse. Then we will look at where we are in a broader context. We'll do a free write while looking at a painting by my father. We'll make a list of words, make a poem, and then briefly discuss where you can go from here, how you can apply these concepts and techniques in your own writing life. Taking your creative pulse. On a blank sheet of paper, describe what being creative has been like for you over the last 2 years. Was it easy at first? Did something interfere with your writing or making music or art? Were you able to find ways to keep going throughout the pandemic? What helped? What did not help? Take about 5 minutes to actually do this free write. Before you begin writing, take 3 deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. You should feel your whole body relax and your outlook change. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. 5 minutes, go. All right, by now you've had about 5 minutes to write. If you're doing this in a group, please pause the video and take a few minutes to discuss what it was like for you during the pandemic. If you don't feel comfortable sharing in a group, it's okay. Just say pass and let the next person go. Interestingly, right when I was beginning to prepare this presentation, I found an article in the Washington Post by Elizabeth Utka entitled "The Pandemic Has Given Us a Bad Case of Narrative Vertigo. Literature Can Help." This is what she wrote. "We want an arc, like a story arc, where we know things get better, even if they're never the same, and where the pandemic comes to a decisive end. But that is not the story we're in. Our pandemic narrative remains mired in uncertainty, repetition, and uneven losses and gains, a kind of narrative vertigo, a feeling of falling. That means we don't know where we are in the timeline or what characters we're playing. Like maybe we're the main characters and we're going to survive, but maybe we're like side characters and we're going to get killed off. We certainly don't know the ending or what happens next, or whether there will be an endless number of mind-numbing sequels after Omicron. So that's where we're at as a society right now, in narrative vertigo. As you can imagine, some of us are feeling a little stressed right now. Like, yeah, really stressed. And what impact does that kind of stress have on our creativity? Well, stress interferes with our attentional filters. When we are under stress, we are no longer able to filter out unimportant matters. We become scatterbrained, flighty, and reckless. So says Stephen Klein. Stress causes an inability to concentrate, and many of us have experienced that over the last 2 years. The stress hormone cortisol can overstimulate your brain and cause mental fog or scrambled thinking, according to Daniel Levitin. So even if you don't have brain fog from COVID, you might still have mental fog or scrambled thinking just as a result of living through the experience of a pandemic. Not only does stress in the short term have a bad effect on our creativity, it can really impact us long term as well. Feeling a little sucker punched right now? This may be why. Months of anxiety, grief, and loneliness can easily create a spiral of negativity that is hard to break out of. That's because chronic stress changes the brain, and sometimes when we're low, we have no interest in doing the things that could actually make us feel better. Barbara Jacqueline Sahakian wrote that in 6 Ways to Reboot Your Brain After a Hard Year of COVID-19. Well, it's been a little longer than a year, and that negative spiral may be even more entrenched in your brain. So that may be why you're not being very creative right now and why it's so hard to write. A look at where we are, part 2. If you're in a group, pause the video now and take a few moments to discuss: what did you do that helped during this difficult time? What coping strategies did you use? Take about 5 minutes to discuss this as a group. Again, if you don't feel comfortable sharing, just say pass and let the next person speak. All right, by now you've had some great ideas from the other members of your group. Many of you may have thought of the things I'm about to say, but just in case you hadn't, here's some ideas I had. Strategies you can use to boost your creativity in this time include trying something different. You might try a different form, like if you're a poet who always writes in rhyme, do free verse. If you normally write novels, try flash fiction. If you're not a visual artist, maybe you could try some visual art, something that is not words. Another thing you can do is go to a different place to write or draw. Just changing your surroundings can sometimes give you a boost in creativity. Another thing you can do is learn something new. Maybe it would be photography or a musical instrument, or, crocheting, knitting, martial arts. Anything different can create new patterns in your brain and thinking. Another important thing in this time is to lower your expectations. My creativity was lower, yours might be too. You might not be able to create something great and exciting right now, but keep plugging away at it, whatever. Don't forget to prime the pump with experiences, language, images, etc. A lot of us have not been able to travel or hang out with our friends or do the things that feed our creativity. So do something. Take a walk with purpose. Make it a scavenger hunt. Look for the color red. Look for numbers. Look for anything. Take photos while you're walking. Notice sounds, smells, or colors. Write about it when you get back. And try making your writing more like a game, which is what we're going to do with our word list exercise next. This is actually a painting by my father, Philip Quinn, done many years ago. At the time, I think he had been laid off from work or was on disability. Anyway, until that got resolved medically, he couldn't go back to work. So he used the time to do something different, and he took up painting. This is one of his early works. I think it came from an art class he took at a high school at night. But anyway, notice the items that are in this still life. Which ones speak to you? Free write about some aspect of the painting. And like when you're free writing, like if you get stuck, you don't know what to do, it's okay to just write like I don't know what to write. And just keep pen to paper, pencil to paper, or fingers on keyboard and just keep going. Maybe you will notice this color, maybe you'll notice the style. Maybe the objects in the painting will awaken a memory from your childhood. Just set pen to paper and keep writing. Don't stop until the time is up. Take about 7 minutes. And again, you'll need to pause the video. Ready? Here we go. 3 deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. 7 minutes. Go. All right, it's time for another group discussion. If you are not doing this in a group, just look over your paper at what you've written and look for images and words that you might want to use in a poem. So now, if you're the group leader, pause the video and ask the members of your group to share briefly, what did you see? What did you write? And if you are a group member, start making a list of images and words that the other folks in your group have come up with. Take about 5 minutes for the discussion. Okay, I have to give credit for this word list idea using the dictionary to Ken Waldman, who spoke a few years ago at the Cochise Creative Writing Celebration in Sierra Vista, Arizona. And it's a great idea, so I feel wonderful sharing it with you. To do this, someone in the group will need a dictionary or thesaurus. If you're doing this at home and you do not have a dictionary or thesaurus, just use whatever book or magazine you have at hand. If you're in a group, you can pass the dictionary or thesaurus around and just flip it open and create a list together. But if you're doing this virtually like we had to do at the library here, then you'll need to make your own list. Whatever. We can do this. So pick up the book you have, a dictionary, thesaurus, or any book or magazine. Open it to a random page. If it's a dictionary or thesaurus, you know how there's like 4 words at the top, 2 on each page, beginning and ending. Choose 1 word from the top of each page. If it's a different kind of text, just close your eyes and put your finger down wherever it lands. Pick the most interesting word that's near your finger. Write it down. And if you're doing this like individually, do it 4 times so you get 10 words. Then, if you're doing this in a group, go ahead, group leader, pause this video. Have every person in the group share 2 words that spark something for you for the group list, and keep the other words to use in your poem. So pause the video here, do the exercise, have the discussion. All right, here's where the fun begins. Create something. The goal of this game is to use as many words or images from your list in a poem. You can add all the words you want, but try to work in some of the things you gleaned from the painting or from your private list or from the group list. Your writing can be any form, free verse, rhymed, or haiku. If you haven't done haiku before, the simplest explanation is 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the second, 5 syllables in the third. Your work can be serious or humorous, celebratory, or even sad. And it could be prose or poetry. You might find that what you're writing seems a little silly or it doesn't make sense together. That's okay, because sometimes when you do this, you find you're writing more than 1 poem, but you don't really realize it yet. So that's okay. Take about 10 minutes to write. When you're finished, go back and underline the words from your list or the phrases. Count them. How many words or images were you able to use? When I did it, I got about 14. So, that's a benchmark you can use. Good luck. Have fun. Pause the video, write for 10 minutes. Enjoy. All right. Now it's time to share what you've written if you feel comfortable sharing with the group. Again, if you don't, it's perfectly okay. Just say pass and let the next person speak. It's not possible to share 10 minutes of writing for everyone unless you have a pretty small group. But share a few lines of what you wrote if it's long and in prose. If it's a poem and it's relatively short, go ahead and share the whole thing. Group leader, pause the video now for the discussion. If you are doing this individually, take a few minutes and write down your answers. But if you're doing this in a group, you can simply pause the video and discuss the following. What did you learn? When you were studying the painting, did you think of something new? Did you remember something you had forgotten? How did using randomly chosen words shape the poem you wrote? Did it take you to new places that you would never have gotten just by writing the way you normally do? And would you be willing to do something like this again? Why or why not? Now it's time to think about taking this to the next level. You could try typing a poem by another poet into your word processor. If you feel comfortable, replace all the spaces with line breaks using a global search and replace, sort the words alphabetically, and create a new poem from the list. Otherwise, just type each word and hit return afterwards. You can make a list of words from what you read. When you have a good number of words, write a poem. You can look at another painting or photograph, free write and use the images, or write a haiku in response. If you're lucky enough to live in an art town like Bisbee, you've got lots of galleries to inspire you. Finally, consider revising the poem or poems or short prose pieces you wrote tonight. Set your work aside for a few days, revise it again. Maybe you want to publish it or illustrate it or share it with a friend. Thanks for coming, virtually or in person. I hope you had fun and learned something new. Again, this video is by Tina Quinn Durham. Don't forget to visit my website at tqdurham.com. Happy writing.